They didn't know it yet, but the last note of that song would make a crowd of strangers cry, stop traffic, and quietly change two lives forever. Stay with this story until the very end, because what happens after the final chord is the reason so many people still talk about that day. And if stories that restore your faith in humanity matter to you, remember to like this video and subscribe so you never miss moments like this. The old woman sat on the edge of the city plaza, her back slightly curved like a question mark shaped by time. She was 87 years old, homeless, and known only to a few shopkeepers as Grandma Rose. Her coat was too thin for the season, its elbows shiny from wear, and beside her stood a battered violin case held together with tape and hope. At her feet, swinging her legs from a crate like it was a throne, sat her 4-year-old granddaughter, Lily, with curls that refused to stay tied and eyes that still believed the world was kind, even when it wasn't. Most people walked past them. Some looked away out of guilt, others out of habit. A few dropped coins without slowing down. No one guessed that Rose's fingers, stiff with arthritis, once danced across concert hall stages, or that Lily had learned to recognize hunger before she learned to read. Life had not been gentle with them. Rose's son had died years earlier, her daughter-in-law soon after, and medical bills swallowed the last of her savings. One eviction notice became another, and suddenly the woman who had once taught music in a warm classroom was teaching survival on cold sidewalks. That afternoon, Lily tugged at her grandmother's sleeve. "Grandma," she whispered, "can we play the happy song?" Rose smiled, the kind of smile that carried both sadness and courage. "My hands are tired today, sweetheart." Lily nodded, then did something she always did when she sensed her grandmother fading. She climbed down, opened the old case, and pulled out the tiny keyboard they'd found at a thrift store months ago, missing 2 keys but still able to sing. Rose hesitated. Playing in public always scared her now. Not because of the music, but because of the memories. Still, Lily placed her small fingers on the keys and waited. That waiting look, the pure trust in her granddaughter's eyes, was stronger than fear. Rose lifted the violin, tucked it beneath her chin, and drew the bow across the strings. The first notes were soft, almost shy, like they were asking permission to exist. People continued walking. Then Lily joined in, her little hands pressing keys with surprising confidence. The melody grew warmer, fuller, wrapping around the plaza like a blanket. Someone slowed down. Then another. A man with a briefcase stopped completely, forgetting his phone call. A woman holding groceries wiped her eyes without knowing why. The duet wasn't perfect. Lily missed notes. Rose's hand trembled. But it was real, and that was what made it powerful. It was the sound of generations holding each other up. It was loss and love braided together. With every measure, Rose remembered who she had been, and Lily imagined who she could become. As they played, Rose's mind drifted to nights spent hungry, to shelters that were full, to the fear of winter. She thought about how she tried to shield Lily from it all, turning every hardship into a game or an adventure. But in the music, there was no pretending. There was only truth, and the truth was that despite everything, they were still together. The crowd had grown now. People stood in a wide circle, silent, respectful. A few held up phones, but most simply listened. When the song reached its final notes, Lily looked up at her grandmother, waiting again. Rose closed her eyes and played the last line slowly, letting it linger, then lowered the violin. For a moment, there was silence. Then applause, loud, sudden, overwhelming. Lily startled, then laughed, clapping along. Rose blinked in disbelief as people stepped forward, not just with money, but with words. "That was beautiful. Thank you. You reminded me of my mother." Someone knelt in front of Lily and said, "You're very brave." But the moment that truly changed everything came quietly. A woman pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. She introduced herself as a music school director. She said she'd been listening from across the street and recognized the technique in Rose's playing. "You were trained," she said softly. Rose nodded, embarrassed. The woman took a breath. "We have a small apartment we use for visiting teachers," she continued. "And a children's program. If you'd be willing. I think we can help each other." Rose couldn't speak. Lily squeezed her hand. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel dangerous. It felt possible. That night, as the plaza emptied and the city lights flickered on, Rose and Lily packed up their instruments. They didn't know exactly what tomorrow would bring, but they knew one thing: their music had reminded the world and themselves that they were more than their circumstances. If this story moved you, if it made you pause and feel something real, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. These are the stories that deserve to be heard, the ones that prove even in the hardest moments, a simple song can open a door, and love, no matter how old or small, can change everything.